Bowzer. He created this character. John Bauman created this character with students, fellow classmates at Columbia. And it became a huge hit. It was the #1 syndicated show in America, seen in 32 foreign countries. The series ran for 4 years, first run, and then another 3 years in syndication. His name is John Bauman, but you've heard of him as Bowzer. And, John, thanks for coming on. Good morning.
Well, thank yous.
I understand you. So you flew in this morning, and you're on the thruway on your way here right now.
Yeah, I'm driving from Syracuse, actually. I'm sort of on a nationwide tour of congressional seats.
So talk about what so this, by the way, is going to happen today at the North Utica Community Center on Riverside Drive. It'll happen at 9:30 this morning, and you're going to be talking about Social Security. So do you feel that is Social Security in trouble?
No, that's not the right way to put it. It's under threat. Social Security itself is doing fine until 2037, when it'll still pay out 77% of its benefit if no one lifts a finger.
Yeah.
But if people like your current congresswoman had their way with it, the entire program, look, they passed a tax bill and came out the next day saying that, we have this tremendous deficit that we just created yesterday. You're added to yesterday. Now we're going to have to cut Social Security and Medicare. So if it continues to be under perpetual threat, yes, it will be in trouble.
How did you? So what needs to be done? What should be done, and what shouldn't be done to the program?
What shouldn't be done to the program is that finally there has to be a look at the cap. The cap is currently $124,800. That means no one pays in 1 penny over income of $124,800, meaning the average person pays 6.2%, and let's say a Koch brother pays 0.00000000001% because they stopped paying at $124,800, whatever their income is.
Yeah.
That would ensure solvency in the program for decades to come. But instead, people like the current congresswoman in your area would rather just take the money out of the hides of actual seniors who Social Security has been the most successful. Social Security and Medicare are the two most successful domestic programs in the history of the country. They've kept millions and millions of people out of poverty. Before Social Security, over 50% of seniors had incomes below the poverty line, and the current rate is 8.7%. That's a big difference.
Well, it is, especially with the population we have that is at that Social Security age today, as people are living longer. It is one of those issues that is a very touchy issue for Republicans. It is. It's something that
it's a bad issue for Republicans.
I get it.
It's not a touchy issue really for anybody. We did a bunch of polling this year at Social Security Works, where 66% of Americans would be more likely to vote for a candidate who will protect and expand Social Security. 64% would be more likely to vote for a candidate who would protect and expand Medicare. 84% would be more likely to vote for a candidate who will fight to lower drug prices. So you don't get to those kinds of numbers with just Democrats. Those include a huge number of independents, a vast majority of independents, and a goodly number of Republicans.
Yeah.
So it's a touchy issue for Republican elected officials.
Correct. And what I meant by touchy is it's a very difficult political issue for fiscally conservative Republicans because there are so many people within their district that vote that would be affected by it. That makes it touchy politically, Maneski.
So can I ask you, are you endorsing Anthony Brindisi today, or are you just outlining, I guess, basically what you said here this morning?
No, I am endorsing Anthony Brindisi this morning on behalf of Social Security Works PAC, and therefore I will this morning at the Senior Citizens Community Center sing bum 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 dang 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 ding dong ding, vote for Anthony Brindisi.
Hey! You got some range there. Holy crap!
So can I ask?
Still got it.
You guys know that low notes are good in the morning.
You're absolutely right. That's where you want to go low in the morning, and we do it when they go high. We go low. Oh boy. Yeah. Sorry.
So how many candidates?
Low, so it's my thing.
It is your thing.
How many Democrats are you endorsing this month or this election cycle?
Okay, so this is my 43rd endorsement. And what we do is we send out a questionnaire. In open seats, we send a questionnaire to both sides because nobody has a track record. In a seat like this, there's no point in sending this questionnaire to Claudia Tenney. She has a real track record. But I have to say, I've never gotten the questionnaire back from a Republican yet once, ever. And that's telling. So, hey, we'd endorse anybody who was better on these issues. But sadly, I think for the state of the country, we have never found a Republican that we're able to endorse.
I want to ask you, and I had my open window there as you were doing Get a Job. How did you make the transition? I just want to be honest. So we're hearing Bowzer from Sha Na Na is coming up to endorse Anthony Brindisi. This is, by the way, on the same day that House Majority
Paul Ryan
is being announced. So how did you make that transition from the character of Bowzer to what you're doing right now?
Well, honestly, it's not really a transition, and I'm still doing shows during this election season where I'm very busy with Social Security Works PAC, which, by the way, I do for free. I'm unpaid. I'm just a high-powered volunteer. Mm-hmm. But I'm only doing shows like I did my 25th year in a row at Hershey Park because I don't want to interrupt 25 years in a row.
Yeah, but otherwise, you got to keep the streak going. You got to keep it going.
Right.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I'm not going to, do any shows until December when the election cycle is over. But I'm still doing Bowzer, and my biggest show of the year will be in January at Mohegan Sun, which is the 18th year in a row for that.
Wow. Hey,
so, the transition, guys, is when I go from talking like this to you to talking like this to you. That's the transition.
Got it. And so, just quickly tell from your bio. It says that this all began and it started, I'm assuming, before the big '70s craze, the Happy Days and everything else. Tell us how it began for you.
Well before. In fact, we kind of, I think, created the stuff that happened in the mid-'70s. And then it came back to us in the sense that we got our own TV show from Happy Days, Laverne and Shirley being so popular, on television.
Yeah.
But when we started, my look at the greaser of the 50s was the first look at the greaser of the 50s through the eyes of the late 60s, early 70s. And yes, it did start at Columbia. My father did say at one point, he said, "So I sent you to Columbia University so you could become a moron." to the Bowzer character. But the Bowzer character was kind of street smart. He wasn't really dumb.
Right.
And then it just sort of grew from there. When we started it, it was an idea whose time had come.
Yeah.
And it had a lot to do with the turmoil, I think, of the late 60s and a need to reclaim some of the sort of playful innocence of the 50s, and to a large extent, some of the music of the 50s, which was getting lost at that time.
Right.
So it had a good function of keeping that music alive. And as a result, a lot of the original artists of the period are also very fond of us, and I'm still friends with all of them.
You probably made more than some of them, I got to tell you. You're doing like on Sha Na Na, you're doing covers of their songs, and these guys were ripped off so badly in the 50s and 60s. But it was 1969. That was the time for people to look for something else to look at. It was such a difficult period in our history. I want to tell you one other quick story. Who's the guy from CSI or whatever the show that is?
Bowzer, Richard Bowzer.
Richard Bowzer.
Oh, Richard Bowzer, yeah, I know him.
I got to tell you, whenever I see him, I think of you. And I had him on the air a couple of years ago, and I said that to him, and it didn't go over well. I don't know why, but
we.
Are you offended that I think of you when I see him?
Oh, not at all.
Okay.
Absolutely not. But he's kind of a sour character, just in person. I've known him on and off for years and years and years, and that's just like sort of the way he is. So I wouldn't be that surprised that he was offended.
Well,
it doesn't offend
the
me
thing
at
is,
all. He's very tremendously talented.
Yes, and I'm not, for the record, losing any sleep over it, by the way. But still, I appreciate
it's
that.
It's the Bowzer and Bowzer that throws you.
Bowzer and Bowzer and stuff like that.
Yeah.
People get confused with each other. I used to get alternately gotten confused with a zillion people over the course of time, and it's really just fine. One time I had to referee my own look-alike contest on an airplane because the flight attendant came from the back and said, "We have a bunch of people. We think you're somebody, but we're not sure who you are."
That's funny.
Wow, thanks, ma'am.
I went back there. It was a very empty plane back in the days when there was such a thing as an empty plane.
Yeah.
And I refereed my own look-alike contest. And by the way, I lost. I lost my own look-alike contest.
That's
there were
funny.
2 votes. There were 2 votes for Marvin Hamlish at that time because I was wearing my glasses. There was 1 vote for The Fly, who, by the way, was not Jeff Goldblum. The vote was not for Jeff Goldblum. It was for The Fly. But it was because I kind of looked like Jeff Goldblum, or he looks like me. And there was 1 vote for the guy from Sha Na Na.
That's funny.
Which I guess was me.
Which was you.
So I lost my own look-alike contest to Marvin Hamlish.
Well, the dead giveaway should have been The Voice because you have the voice. There's just no doubt about it. So, listen, I really appreciate it, John, for coming on. John Bowzer Bauman. And who knows, maybe we'll see you at a Sha Na Na show down the road.
Well, it's definitely my pleasure. Thanks for having me on, and grace for peace.
Okay, thanks so much. I appreciate it. By the way, that event, thank yous. That event is today at 9:30 at the North Utica Community Center. The topic, of course, is Social Security. He's somebody that certainly advocates for the funding, the proper funding, and the formula for Social Security.